Hello everyone. On this video we're just going to go over a few problems that we're going to have to convert from fractions to decimals or decimals to fractions. Okay, so for our first example, let's say if you have 1 tablet of calcium pantothenate, I'm assuming that's how you say it, that contains 0.5 grams. How much is contained in 2 3/4 tablets? Also, how many tablets are needed to make 2.6 grams? All right, so what I want you to do is go ahead and press pause and try to solve this one on your own. All right, so I'm assuming you've pressed pause and tried to solve this one. Okay, so we have two separate questions. Okay, first we want to know how many grams is in 2 3/4 tablets. All right, so let's move that up a little bit. Okay, so number of grams in 2 3/4 tablets. There we go. Okay, so we know each tablet contains 0.5 grams. So what we're going to do is we're going to get 2 3/4 and multiply it by 0.5. 0.5 times 2 3/4. Okay. Now we know if we divide 3 divided by 4, we would get 0.75. Okay. And if you want to double check that, just use the steps involved in the converting from fractions to decimals video, and you'll see the process to do that. Okay, so we have 2.75 because we're replacing 3/4 with 0.75 times 0.5. Okay, now we know if we're going to multiply decimals, we temporarily drop the decimal point. So you have 275 times 5. Okay, so 5 times 5 is 25. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 2 is 37. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 13. Okay, so now we have 2 decimal spaces here and 1 decimal space there. So we have a total three total decimal digits. That means we get our decimal at the end and we move it to the left 3 places. 1, 2, 3. So we know that 2.75 times 0.5 is equal to 1.375 grams in 2 3/4 tablets. All right. Now the next question asks, how many tablets are needed to make 2.6 grams? Well, to find that out, to make 2.6 grams, okay, so we know, let me move that down a little bit. 0.5 grams is in 1 tablet. You multiply that by 2, we know it's in 2 tablets. Multiply that by 3, we know it's in 3 tablets. But to find out how many is in 2.6 grams, we just divide it by that 0.5. Okay, because we know how many grams we're looking for. We just want to know how many tablets. So you have 2.6 divided by 0.5. Okay, so that is put it here, 2.6 divided by 0.5 5. Okay, so we know we have to make the outside value a whole number, so we move that once. And we know that means we move the one under the division bracket once. Okay, so we have 26 divided by 5. And we'll make that 26.0 since we had to move our decimal. Okay, so we move that decimal right on up. And 5 goes into 26 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. 26 minus 25 is 1. Bring down our 0. 5 goes into 10 twice. 5 times 2 is 10 and gives us a remainder of 0. So that means it takes 5.2 tablets. Move that up a little. To make 2.6 grams. All right. So if you are still writing this, feel free to press pause. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our next example. Whoops. Took the problem. Page of stuff there. There we go. Right, so for our next problem, let's say if a carpenter lays 10.5 squares of shingles in 4.5 days, how many squares does he complete in a day? All right, so what I want you to do, again, is press pause and try to solve this one on your own. All right, so I'm assuming you've already solved it, so let's go ahead and verify your answer. Okay, so you have 10.5 squares in 4.5 days. So if these are our 10.5 squares, so 10.5 squares, then we want to find out how much he did in those 4.5 days, or how much he did in one day. All right, so that means you want to have 10.5 divided by those 4.5 days. All right, so if you wanted to, you can go ahead and convert 1/2, and that's 0.5. So this will become 10.5 divided by 4.5. Okay, which we're going to convert. Actually, I'll put it underneath since we still have some work to do. So we have 10.5 divided by 4.5. So if we move our decimal to the right once to make this number a whole number, that means we have to move this one to the right once. So that gives us 105 divided by 45. And we'll make that 105.0 since we had to move our decimal behind the 5. So we know this one goes up. All right, now we divide. 45 goes into 105 twice. 45 times 2 is 90. 105 minus 90 is 15. And we bring down our 0. 45 goes into 150 3 times. 45 times 3 is 135. 150 minus 135 is 15. So we add another 0, bring that down. 45 goes into 150 3 times. 45 times 3 is 135, and you see the pattern there. It's going to just keep repeating the remainder over and over and over. So we have an idea that it's just going to be 2.333333, and it's going to keep going. So we know that 10.5 divided by 4.5 is equal to 2.3333, and etc. and so on, which is equal to 2.3 with the bar over it. All right. So if you are still writing, feel free to press pause, but we're going to go ahead and move on to our last example. Okay, it says a cylinder is normally 3 7/6 of an inch in diameter. It is rebored 0.040 or 40 thousandths of an inch larger. What is the size of the rebored cylinder? And you want to give that in decimal form. All right, so once again, I want you to go ahead and take a crack at this one on your own. Go ahead and press pause and try it on your own. All right, so assuming you've pressed pause and solved this one, let's go ahead and verify your answer. Okay, so if we have a cylinder, and let's say this is our cylinder, and kind of clean up that circle a little bit. And the diameter, which means from end to end, is 3 7/16 of an inch. So what they did was they bored or rebored it and widened it just a little bit. So if it's, I'm just going to draw an outline here. So if they bored it to make it a little bit wider, what they have is 3 7/16 plus that 41 thousandth of an inch. All right, so they want the answer in decimal form, which means what we're going to have to do is convert that 7/16 into a decimal. All right, so we'll do that on the side there. Okay, 7 divided by 16 is just 7 divided by 16. And we'll make that 7.0 and move that decimal right on up. Okay, so 16 goes into 70 4 times. 16 times 4 is 64. Go ahead and subtract that. 70 minus 64 is 6. We're going to go ahead and add another 0 and bring that down. 16 goes into 60 3 times. 16 times 3 is 48. I had to think about that for a second. 60 minus 48 is 12. So we're going to go ahead and add another 0 decimal digit. 16 goes into 120 7 times. 16 times 7 is 112. 120 minus 112 is 8. So we're going to go ahead and add another 0 decimal digit. 16 goes into 80 5 times. 16 times 5 is 80, which leaves us with a remainder of 0. So 7 over 16 is equal to 0.0 there, 4375. All right, so now we're just going to rewrite this as 3.4375, since we converted 7/16, that 0.4375, plus 0.040. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add those two together. So we rewrite it vertically. 3.4375 plus 0.04. Let's move that over a little bit too much. 040. Okay, and any blank spaces there, we just fill those with 0. So we're good there. Okay, so 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 0 is 7. 4 plus 3 is 7. 4 plus 0 is 4. 3 plus 0 is 3. And when you're adding or subtracting your decimals, you just line them up and your answer is the decimal in the same spot. Okay, so the diameter after it's rebored is 3 4,775 10,000ths of an inch. All right, so that's a few examples, and hopefully that made sense. And I will see you on the next video.